Good evening. My name is Brianna Martin, and I am here to present my symptomatic review. The name of my paper was, or the title of my paper is Character Education in High School, the Relationship Between Character Education and Academic Performance. My research question was, does character education have a significant impact on high school students' academic achievement, such as grade point average? Some background information about character education. First and foremost, character education is not a new learning process. In fact, character education is as old as education itself. The early Christians actually believed that moral character was more important than that of intellect. Therefore, character education has a very long and strong background. In 1960s to the 1970s, an emphasis on academics placed a hold on character education. From there, character education's popularity in schools has yo-yoed. There are three reasons behind why character education has yo-yoed. One, the definition of character education is not clear. Two, the emphasis on high-stake testing has left little room and time for teachers to actually implement character education. And three, there is a major debate over what is the place of character education in classrooms. For my study, I defined character, or not I, but I utilized Brickwitz's definition of character education, which is, as an individual set of psychological characteristics that affect the person's ability and inclination to function morally. For my paper, my research strategies that I used were three databases: Google Scholar, EBSCOhost, and Educational Full Text. Terms that I used for my search were character, programs, high schools, outcome, evaluation, ethics, social and emotional, character instruction, moral education, and value education. The criteria for considering studies is, first, I wanted studies that were published after 2009. These studies needed to take place here in the United States. These studies needed to be taking place in a high school setting, and they needed to utilize character programs. Type of studies that I utilized were analysis, case studies, and a narrative inquiry. One of the studies, for example, that did not meet my criteria was designing, implementation, and evaluation of education programs' effect on academic performance. This study did not meet my criteria because, for one, it did not take place in the United States, and it was not in a high school setting. The type of outcomes that I measured within my paper was the students' academic measures by grade point average and standardized tests. So we looked at grade point average and we looked at test scores, standardized test scores. A study that was excluded because it did not look at those things was the effect of a school-based program to enhance pro-social development on children's peer relation and social adjustments. Again, my search study looked at EBSCOhost, Google Scholar, and Educational Full Text. I found a total of 1,665 articles. From there, looking through the titles, I narrowed it down to 100 titles. From those titles, I kind of looked through those abstracts, finding 30 abstracts that I believe connected to my research question. From those 30 abstracts, after reading those, I narrowed it down to 13 articles that I went through and read the full text of. From there, 3 of those articles met all of my criteria. And from one of those studies, I looked into their reference sections to find 2 additional studies that also met my criteria to give me a total of 5 articles. So, my results from those articles, first looking at Gene's 2019 study, it took place in a public school setting here in the United States. And he looked at, actually, he looked at 52 different studies. So his study was the meta-analysis in which I looked at. And I tried to focus, or my focus was on just what was his results when he looked at those students from 9 to 12, so high school level students. And from there, what we found out is that character education has an impact on all students' academics. But more specifically, when we look at high school students, it has a greater impact than that of elementary and middle school students. So from Gene's 2019 study, my findings was that high school students have a more significant increase in academics than that of elementary and middle school. Gene's 2009 study looked at character education through knowledge of the Bible and biblical knowledge. So what he found in that study in 2009 was that no matter if the student attended a private school or if the students were in public school settings, the more knowledge that they had about the Bible, the higher their GPAs were. The less knowledge the students had about the Bible, the more they scored in that lower level of GPAs. Our next study that I used for Johnston KS was looking at character education at trade school and understanding how character education played a part in a high school setting that were around trade. And what they found from that study is that students increased in their GPA when they were given information, when they were giving character education. My next study looked at the findings in southeastern areas. So looking at Charles County School District here in the United States. And they found a very small increase in students' academics when presenting a character education. What this study found more was higher impacts with behavior education. So they saw more increase in students being able to resolve conflict, for students being able to take more responsibility and accountability. They saw more strength in their school culture, and they found that students appreciated and respected others and the environment more. So they did see a small increase in students' GPA, but they saw more of a increase in student behavior. My last study from 2009, English, was the researcher. This looked at a particular program, and this program was implemented in their schools for 5 years. What he saw from this case study is that this character education program helped students increase not only in their academics when we look at GPA, but also saw a significant increase in the students' ACT composite scores. So there was a great increase in both students' GPA and student ACT scores. So overall, my findings support that there is a positive relation between character education and student achievement. In conclusion, character education is most effective when it is incorporated in school plans or everyday systems. So another thing that I found from all 5 of my studies is that character education is just not implemented in one particular part of or one particular classroom, but it is embedded in the entire system to make it effective. Character education has many challenges when it comes to implementation. A few studies, especially the case study, talked about the different challenges that were faced when implementing the character education. So from there, future research that could go on about character education and its impact on academics is looking at the will and skills of teachers when teaching character education, looking at the type of training and professional development used, and the impact that school leaders have on character education when they use it as a building initiative. That completes my presentation.